You're listening to Mr. Credit on San Diego 1700 with local credit expert Derek Evans. Now, live in studio, Mr. Credit.
Welcome to Mr. Credit. We are live and local here in San Diego, bringing you the most important hour in radio and telling you everything they don't want you to know about the way the bureaus work, consumer credit scoring, the banks, and now the government's got their hands in the cookie jar as well, so we've got to dissect all this information for you to make sure you're fully informed and you have the best credit score possible. Padres won 3 in a row, including a shellacking of the Mets last night, 18-6. Still a 2-game lead in the West over L.A. We have New York again tonight, 7 p.m., right here on San Diego 1700. Make sure you save this station in your dial. We've also got loan modification, mortgage, and real estate expert in the studio today, Ed Paul. Ed, thanks for joining us.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We always like having you in the studio, filling us full of all the truths about what's really going on out there. Today we're going to be talking about, of course, new refinance programs that are out there, refinancing in general, what's happening with loan modifications. Want to get the skinny on that. We've also got Persis Snipe, who called in a few weeks ago. She's going to give us an update a little later in the week, so stay tuned for that. We're also going to be talking about how short sales are going, what the process is like for those. But first I want to get to a couple of stories in the news. This one is pretty interesting. And the headline that tells it all: MasterCard spent $820,000 lobbying in the first quarter. If you ever wonder why it is that things like interest rate caps on credit cards and things like that don't get through the Senate and so forth, think about it like this. If you're MasterCard and you're going in and you have all this money, you only need to spend $820,000. I mean, I was shocked that's all they had to spend. If these lobbyists knew anything or had any clue about what take a look at the balance sheet before you take a bribe, for crying out loud. These guys could have paid you way more money. $820,000 is a drop in the bucket. But they have to report this stuff. They spent $820,000 in the first quarter to lobby the federal government on Wall Street reform and consumer protection legislation, according to the disclosure report. That's a 32% jump from what it was last time, and 15% less than what it spent in the fourth quarter of 2009. So, MasterCard, remember, they don't lend money. They're just the processor. They're just the broker, basically. They take the money, from the merchants to the banks and back and forth on disputes. So that's really their job. Spent $820,000 in the first quarter, drop in the bucket, but I think they got done what they wanted to get done, since the interest rate cap did not pass. Also, one that I think is very pertinent for the discussion today is one that actually is coming out of Florida. This one says that the headline reads, "Blasting Bank's Lawyer, Judge Wipes Out Homeowner's $207,000 Mortgage." Now, this all started with a loan modification attempt, but I think this story is interesting to look at because this is the type of things that are happening out there to people every day, and you need to be aware of the fact that just because a bank is a big company doesn't mean they're doing things right, and it certainly doesn't mean they're doing everything tidy. So what all this person wanted, his name was Orlando, all he wanted from his lender was a loan modification, make his payments more affordable. Instead, he got his $207,000 mortgage wiped out. And a crash course in the confusing way foreclosures are unfolding in our court system, which is just full of cases, just absolutely full of cases. So the teacher was Miami-Dade court judge Jennifer Bailey, who canceled his debt after the lender, HSBC Bank, ignored her previous order to post a bond. She said the actions of HSBC's lawyer were contemptuous, according to a court hearing transcript. Now, HSBC's run-in with Bailey began in December of 2009 when she granted the lender's motion for the foreclosure sale. So they had actually tried to foreclose. Most likely what happens, and Ed, I'm sure you can relate to this, the person was going through the loan modification process. The lender probably told them that it was in process, and then all of a sudden, boom, NOD. That happens, doesn't it?
Correct, yes.
I mean, so
Very
the people
often.
they get blindsided by this. So this individual, Orlando, he gets blindsided by this deal. They go and they try to foreclose his home. It ends up in court because of that. Now, the HSBC lost the note on Orlando's property.
Wow.
They actually lost they lost the note. And when I say these big banks, you think they're infallible because they're some big organization, multi-million dollars. But the reality is they're just as big idiots, if not more so, than anybody else that's out there. And because they're such a big conglomerate, they have so many different people's hands in the cookie jar, too many cooks in the kitchen, really. And in this case, they actually lost the note. So the judge ordered the lender to post a bond to indemnify the case the lender filed a claim against. So they're basically trying to say, well, look, if you don't have the note, you can't foreclose on this property. because HSBC did not post that bond, the judge actually wiped the mortgage out, nullified the existence of it, and the person got to have their home free and clear, which is pretty cool. I love stories like this because I hate just hearing over and over about all these profits. That's all I see every time I'm looking at the news. Profits from the debt collectors, profits from the banks, profits from the credit bureaus, just over and over and over and over. It's nice to see that, you know, a small guy, just a regular consumer, a Joe Schmo, can go out there and fight them in the courts and actually win. So I was glad to see that. But speaking of, I mean, let's just roll right with that one. If someone is out there and they're in a loan modification, now we know that the process starts like this. You have to contact the bank. Now, if these people do this stuff on their own, if they don't hire someone to do it, they contact the bank. They're going to be blinded for the most part by the bank's ineptness. I mean, explain to us what happens when you initiate contact with the bank for a loan modification.
We submit a complete package, financial package, and get the ball rolling. The main thing is, you know, keeping in touch and not getting frustrated, because once you get in there and start talking to these lenders, it's very hard it's very excruciating, the loopholes, and not loopholes, the hoops they make you jump through in order to get stuff done. So, you know, that's why it's smart to have somebody that actually knows what they're doing and does this as a business, because they actually deal with this on a regular basis. They know who to go to, they know who to talk to. They are able to get done things a lot quicker. So.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the frustration most people have is they try to contact the bank. Maybe someone even at the bank tells them, no, you can't get a loan modification, or maybe someone at the bank says, well, I don't know if you can or not, you just need to go do all this work. People end up going and they spend months. I mean, how long does it typically take for someone to find out if they're going to end up being able to get a modification?
Well, like, I can look within the first 5-minute interview, I will be able to tell somebody if they would even qualify for a modification, because there's a formula to it. It's based on income, debts, hardship. So there's a whole formula that's set up by the lenders that they decide. So some lenders, even though, for example, any ordinary person wouldn't even know that they didn't qualify, they waste their time, start submitting packages, go through the process, and try to get updates, which you're never going to get. You know, it could take up 3 months. Next thing you know, similar story we just heard, there's a notice of default filed and their trustee sale date filed, while you think you're getting a loan modification that you would have never approved for if the banks were, you know, actually looking through files and trying to accurately put consumers where they belong. Either it's a loan modification or short sale, short refinance. There's a ton of programs out there that, you know, people don't know about that they can qualify for, that the lenders aren't going to reach out and tell them, hey, look, do this or do that, or, you know what, let me hear you out. Okay, this is your situation. Well, you're not going to qualify for a loan modification based on a 5-minute interview, you know, that I can tell them up front. So right up front, you know, people have to understand where they're headed and realistically what their options are. Yep. You know, and in a market like this, it's really difficult because, first and foremost, you know, this is your home, and you want, you know, you have the highest hope possible. You're looking on the news every day. There's, you know, an announcement, loan modifications, Obama planned this, making home affordable, you know, Obama's going to save you here, Obama's going to save you there. So people have high hopes, you know, and that's all they hear. And yes, the government does want to help. But at the end of the day, who makes the decision? It's not the government, it's the lenders.
Right.
And that's what people don't understand. They don't understand that behind the lender, there's a mortgage note holder, which is an investor. So some of the banks aren't even making the decisions. It's the investor that owns that note. So if the if the investor doesn't want to help anybody out, if they don't find it lucrative for them to do that deal, then why would they want to do that deal that the government wants them to do? And it's in black and white. You look up the Making Home Affordable program, it states on there, this is not required for lenders to do, black and white.
Yep.
So, you know, there's nothing hidden. They're letting you know, hey, this is up to your lender. We propose this plan, and if they want to follow through with it, then you know, great, and if not, then oh well, there's nothing we can do.
It's a suggestion.
Correct.
It has the, you know, very good intentions involved with the programs that have been created by the government. But the reality is this, and that's I'm glad you bring that up. There are a lot of solutions, and that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about all the solutions that are involved with ways that you can keep your home or potentially leave your home and save your credit. And that's really what the point of the program today is to make you aware of the fact that we have people. I have sought the professionals for